Hey there, so you want to buy a house in Denver, Colorado, but you're saying there's a big market shift happening right now. What we've seen recently was a strong seller's market, and now it's a buyer's market. Or is it? Interest rates are going up, price reductions happening left and right. Why would anyone in their right mind want to buy a home right now? Here's the thing, we gotta look at the data and the information, and then you have to ask yourself, is it the right time for me to buy right now anyway? Here's one thing I love that my good friend's dad always says, and that's don't wait to buy real estate, buy real estate and wait. But ultimately, it has to be the right choice for you and your family. So if you're thinking about moving to Denver, I just wanted to show you a few things on the historical level. Now, here's one thing you have to understand. These rates of the 2, 3, and 4%, those were here to help us get out of a recession and a pandemic that nobody saw coming. They did that to help encourage spending and buying and just to get us through a really tough time. With compared to the last recession, conditions are way different this time around. There are 3 key factors that can help us see why the housing market should stay strong. And the first one is supply is short and demand is high. There was a ton of inventory prior to that last recession. And at the same time, construction was booming. That extra supply plus a wave of foreclosure properties that got added to it, that led to falling prices. This time around, the supply is on the opposite end of the spectrum. The number of listings across the country, and especially here in Denver, are very limited. Couple this with strong buyer demand, and that might just be enough to prop prices up even during this recession. Number 2 is the lending standards are just way stricter than they have been previously. Loose credit standards in the early 2000s that left many people with mortgages they just couldn't afford. That situation disintegrated into surging foreclosures across the country. Since then, lenders have strengthened their qualifying requirements, and we see it all the time. The lenders are vetting these buyers very thoroughly. I mean, you see it, you gotta have good credit score, you have to have good income, you have to have good work history and longevity of employment, you gotta have money down for down payment. So the risk is almost non-existent. The lending standards are nothing like we saw in the early 2000s. And you can see that in the borrower risk versus the product risk. It just isn't the same as it was in the early 2000s. They aren't just putting anyone into homes like they were in 08. And now in this day and age, it's just simply an inventory issue. And a big part of it is the millennial buyers right now. It's the biggest group of buyers we've seen in the market right now since then. And there just aren't enough homes to keep up with the demand. And combine that with everything else that have been going on between lockdowns and now you can work remotely. This makes Denver a very desirable spot to want to buy a home here in the Denver metro area. The third thing is that interest rates are still relatively low. Experts largely expect the housing market to weather this storm. Freddie Mac's forecast released in April of 2022 pointed to rising home prices 4.4% in 2022, as well as continued relatively low mortgage rates. I tell this to my clients all the time that are buying, that is that this is your primary residence and you plan on being there for more than 2 years, then you're probably safe. You want to stay there for at least 2 years because that way you can capture that capital gains tax credit if it's your primary residence. It's $250,000 for an individual and $500,000 for a married couple. The values will still continue to rise, just not as fast as they were in the last 24 months. And then, and look at this. All these big companies that track this data are projecting home values to increase in 2022. Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Zellman, and NAR, anywhere between 2.8% and 7.4%. Now, that's not the crazy increases that we saw the last 24 months with the 20% or more in some areas, but they're still projected to go up. The rate increase in recession will slow down home sales, but the values should still go up. Denver has been a strong market in the past, and it's a desirable spot for people to continue to move and live in. I mean, even during the last recession, we didn't see $600,000 homes drop to $300,000. I mean, they may fluctuate a little bit, but as long as you don't sell the home right at that second, you don't actually lose anything. You might lose something on paper, but if you don't actually have to sell and you can wait it out, then that would be the ideal situation. When I bought my first house in 2014, I actually got a 5% interest rate myself and didn't even think twice about it. We hadn't seen the 2s or 3s before, and when rates dropped down, I refinanced my home. So if you want to buy a house right now and start earning equity, and when rates drop back down, you can do the same. You can refinance it and lower your rate and lower your payment. But overall, with what everyone is projecting to happen, we should be fine here in the Denver metro area. They won't go up as fast as they have been, like I was saying, in the last 2 to 3 years, but they should steadily continue to rise. Real estate is by far one of the soundest investments around that has stood the test of time. You'll never be able to time the market perfectly. Do some people do it? Yes. Those are the ones that are consistently buying and selling all the time. It's called dollar cost averaging. Those people are buying in the down market and they're buying in the up market. So eventually they're going to, time the market, perfectly. So you don't actually make or lose anything until you go to sell. Like I was saying, you might lose or make money on paper, but nothing actually happens until you go to sell. So bottom line is, most experts agree that we're not in a housing bubble, and that's because home price growth is backed by strong housing market fundamentals, and the lending standards are much tighter today than they were previously. The recession will touch every aspect of the economy, and there's the housing market really no different. But does that mean another bust is in the cards? Probably not. Home prices should continue to rise despite all the bad economic news. Hey, if you have any questions, let's connect and discuss why today's housing market is nothing like 2008. Hey, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, hit that like button and that bell below so you don't miss out on more real estate news and neighborhood tours and reviews. Thanks.